Hi, it's Alistair at Electric Scotland. I'm basically just doing a special video on Brexit and my views on INDYREF2. The idea behind this is that in my last newsletter I got a comment in from a Mitchell Cook, and he basically says next video, and I'm saying, yeah, well, what do you want in the next video? And he sent another comment saying Nigel Farage's new party, the European elections and next general elections, and how this political sphere is affecting the choice of independence that the First Minister is looking to have in the next 2 years. What is your opinion and what you think will happen? So I thought I'd take that as a challenge, and hence this video, basically. Okay, so if I start off with Nigel Farage and the European elections, I'm pretty confident that the Brexit Party will win, and I think they'll win by quite a massive margin. The latest polls I saw this morning is that the Brexit Party is on 34%, Labour's on 17%, and the Tories are on 11%. So that means that 28% want either Labour or Conservative, and if the Brexit Party's on 34%, clearly they've got an overall majority. I think that may well improve as we come up to the actual elections themselves, which is next week. I think he's going to win that, and I think that's going to be a big warning sign to the sitting members of Parliament. I think maybe some of them will start to fear for their jobs, because it's pretty clear to me that quite a number, if we have a general election, are going to be deselected, and I think basically a lot of them will be defeated in the polls in the general election. I know that the Brexit Party will take a lot of votes away from Conservatives, but also believe they'll take a lot of votes away from Labour as well. And so the net result will be the Brexit Party will be the largest overall party and will be asked to form the next election. Pretty confident on that, really, unless something massive happens. Certainly I think that the BBC should be seriously punished, because they've not been neutral. They're meant to be neutral as a public broadcasting corporation. They're not. And no one's done anything about it. I'm delighted to see that. I've been calling for this for a while, that any time the BBC interviews you, whoever they're interviewing must say, we know that the BBC is anti-Brexit and you're biased, but nevertheless we'll give you our thoughts on what you're asking us. But Nigel Farage just on Sunday, I think in the Andrew Muir show, showed just how biased the BBC is. And I'm delighted he took him to task, basically, and the whole BBC. Because the BBC, you can't trust them. You just simply can't trust them. Although having said that, they did produce, Belgium-produced, 2-part video on BBC 4 about the Brexit negotiations. And if you look at that, you'll see that what you'll see is the fact that the European Union are very clear on what they want, but Britain comes over as being a bit of a basket case. Like David Davis, he hardly bothered to turn up at these negotiations, so he's clearly useless. Theresa May doesn't know what she's asking for, so she's clearly useless. We have a whole useless amount of leaders at the moment in the controlling Conservative department, and Theresa May is just a massive liability. She needs to go, but the problem is when she goes, we'll probably get another idiot that's equally bad coming in its place. So there's no clear way for the Tory party to recover, and I think Labour is so lame. They haven't a clue what they want. In fact, we pay politicians to make decisions on our behalf, but they can't make decisions. So they want to abdicate their responsibility and put it back to the British people in a second referendum. And that's just wholly ridiculous. It's clear Remainers have no faith in Britain, no faith in the British people, and no faith in British businesses. And that's just terrible. We should sack the lot of them. Anyone that votes Remains is an idiot, in my view. I mean, think about the world, for Pete's sake. I mean, in the EU, we've got major problems in France. I mean, Macron, the yellow vest, I mean, he's been very arrogant as Macron. But I hold Macron out as the possibility that he might force a no-deal Brexit. Because I can't see any way to get a no-deal Brexit with the current political establishment as it stands. But Macron was very vociferous in saying he didn't want to give Britain an extension. He said, let's just get over it. Let's get it done. If they want a no deal, let's do a no deal. He was right. We've got to kill this. If it means France objecting to another extension, then great, that will force us out and we'll just have to deal with it. But as I say, that's the major problem on this Brexit thing, is there's not enough courageous MPs that have got backbone that stand up and say, okay, let's just leave and get on with it. I mean, even if we leave with a no deal, it'll be basically WTO terms we'll use, but that's not to say we can't then negotiate a better deal with them once we've left and we're out and it's done. So no one says we can't do a better deal later, but let's just get out and get on with it, for Pete's sake. I mean, at the end of the day, our big prospects are America and the Commonwealth. To me, that's the big pluses of getting out of the EU. We need to really re-engage with the Commonwealth, and that includes especially the CANZ UK countries. That's Canada, Australia, New Zealand and Great Britain. So I mean, and we're all English speaking, so we have no problems in the business. We've got the same Queen as the head of state. We've got the same basic parliamentary systems in place. You know, we've got the same rule of law, social security, all kinds of things. We're so similar it isn't true. So we could easily have free movement between the CANZ UK. But then I think we need to address the bigger issues. I mean, for example, India is part of the Commonwealth. But India is forecast by 2050, the World Bank says it believes China will be the leading trading nation of the world, India will be second, the USA will be third. Britain was still forecast to be in the top 10. But anyway, I mean, in population terms and economically, the Commonwealth it should be the #1 player in the world. Because African countries, I mean, Africa are working on a free trade deal themselves. And I think Africa, if they can sort out the corruption that's in Africa and get a bit of democracy system going in most of these African nations, frankly, Africa could just flourish like anything. And because a lot of the leading economic players are in the Commonwealth, we'll do very well as well. So we need to work on the Commonwealth and work on a good free trade deal with Trump. But there's so many people putting out fear stories, which are just that, fear stories. I mean, right now we've got Philip Hammond, who runs the Treasury. All he comes out with is doom and gloom, which is all actual lies, because every forecast the Treasury have put out has proved to be way wrong and way out of line with what actual results are happening. And so I think we need to take control. We need a new government system, and that's where I think after Brexit, after these European elections, which I forecast Brexit will win beautifully, I think we need them as the next big party. And we'll get rid of the Conservatives and Labour because they are unfit for the job, basically. And I think what you'll see is Nigel Farage will come out with basically policy documents. He's not going to use manifesto because he said the British people now equate manifestos with lies, because in the Labour and Conservative manifestos they both said we'll respect the British wish to leave the EU, and clearly they haven't respected that wish, so they lied to us. And that was a pretty fundamental lie. So there's a lot of MPs in Westminster that are basically liars. and can't be trusted. Really can't. I mean, what's wrong with being out of the common market, the single market, out from under the ECJ? All it means is our MPs will be held to account. Because up to now, the European Union puts out a new law, we just rubber stamp it and get on with it. We don't question it because we can't. Because EU law transposes or takes extension over British law. And that's just bad news. We need to take control of our country again. And we particularly need to do free trade deals with the world. Absolutely got to. It's absolutely critical. Otherwise, what's the point in leaving the EU? So, I think that's the first thing, is that I think we need a big vote for Brexit Party on the European elections to send a warning signal. But frankly, I don't think that will make a difference, because unfortunately the majority in Westminster are anti-Brexit, as is the BBC. As I say, I'm very much in favour of the BBC being changed to just Broadcasting Corporation. Let's get rid of the British, because they're by no means the British Broadcasting Corporation anymore. They're a bunch of liars, cheats. They've no faith in Britain, no faith in the British people, no faith in British businesses. They don't like Britain, basically. So let's get rid of the British from the British Broadcasting Corporation. And I say Nigel Farage was just absolutely right to castigate Muir in his television interview with him on Sunday, when he basically accused the BBC of being totally biased against Brexit. And they are. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. As he said himself, he's the only one that's being interviewed. They haven't bothered attending any of the Brexit rallies up and down the country. Got no publicity to that whatsoever. And yet, if they were fair, because they're a public broadcasting corporation, they're meant to be pretty independent. But they're clearly not. They're definitely big bias there from the BBC. They're liars, cheats, fake news, everything. You can't trust the BBC anymore on Brexit. That's a fact. So we need to call them out, and I've been calling for the MPs in email messages to them to say, when you're being interviewed by a BBC journalist, make the point that they're anti-Brexit and biased. You must make that point. It's got to get over and over and over. And I'm just looking recently, we're starting to get more of these people standing up and saying, of course, we know you're biased, and that's brilliant. I mean, that's what we need to just make absolutely critical clear, that the BBC has lost touch with British people. Now, so that's the European elections. I think the Nigel Farage Party will be a massive winner in the EU elections. After that, we're calling the next general election. So the next general election, I also forecast the Brexit Party will be the largest party in power after those elections. They will take votes, a lot from the Conservatives, yes, but a lot from Labour as well. So I don't see them splitting the party vote between Conservatives and them. I think they'll take from Labour as well, because after all, Labour's policies, who knows what they want? They're so unclear about everything. I mean, why would you vote for Labour? You don't know what they stand for. And there's no clarity in their policies at all, apart from they want to abdicate responsibility and put the votes back to the people. And that might happen, because at the end of the day, clearly these MPs haven't got a bloody clue about anything. Most of them are stupid. And Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson, who are meant to be the leaders of the Brexit parties there, I mean, both of them caved in and would accept Theresa May's deal, which is a hugely bad deal. I mean, right now we'd be better off in the EU, because at least we have some veto, we have a voice. But under Theresa May's deal, we have no veto, no voice. We just have to accept the rules that they give us. That's why she is terrible as a leader. That deal she did was just disgusting, horrible. And yet she's so fixated on it. That's why she's got to go. But the problem is, who takes over from her? I can't see anyone there now in the Conservative Party that can take over, that would have any credibility at all. That's why I say, I think we need another general election. That's very clear to me. And I say, I think the Brexit party will be the leading party and will form the next government. That's my prediction. Now, when it comes to the second part, which was about INDYREF2, I forecast it won't happen in the next 2 years. I mean, the SNP can scream all they want, but frankly, I don't think there's any appetite to have another independence referendum at this time. But if they did, I forecast the SNP would lose yet again. Because when you've seen the mess this Brexit thing's happening, it's going to be an even bigger mess on trying to get an independent Scotland out of the UK. And Alex Salmond, of course, in his white paper, all these years ago, he forecast it maybe cost 150 million to negotiate the independence settlement, and it'd be dead easy because Scotland would get this, that, and the next thing. Well, it's very clear that Scotland won't get it easy. Because why should they? I mean, they're going to leave, they've voted to leave, they're going to leave, so why should England cheerfully pay up tons more money to Scotland? They will be very hard on any negotiation that goes on. And frankly, the SNP is a disaster. I mean, I think what they should be doing in the next Scottish elections is voting the Conservatives. Because we've had Labour, we've had Lib Dems, we've had the SNP, and frankly, Scotland is not doing well under any of them. So the only one that hasn't had a chance at governing is the Tory party. And frankly, I don't rate Ruth Davidson very highly at all. I think she's very naive in her views, very naive. But, at the end of the day, let's give them a shot. Because if she can't do it, then frankly, Scotland's ungovernable. I mean, the SNP are just terrible. Right now, we're facing gigantic problems in all kinds of areas. And even the devolved powers. I mean, Scotland's fought for getting more devolved powers, but now they don't want them. Or they're postponing taking charge because they haven't got the intelligence to organise computerised systems to sort problems out. They've actually said, we're just incapable of taking this tax and social security and stuff like that. Oh, we need another 2 years, before we'll be in a position to do anything about it. So they keep asking for more powers, and we're giving them more powers. They don't want them or aren't able to take advantage of them. That shows how stupid they are. We don't have very intelligent people as MSPs. They're all pretty stupid, really, pretty well all of them. So, that's what, so when we're looking, we're going to lose 10 billion from the Barnett formula, because the Barnett formula will go, because they won't be an independent country. So we'll have to find that 10 billion from somewhere. Where are we going to find it? The SNP's got no plans at all for doing anything to mitigate that. I mean, we wanted an independence because we had vision, we're great inventors from the past, but any invention, any new vision and stuff like that, the SNP hasn't got it. They're dead. They're brain dead, all of them in the SNP. And for that matter, pretty much all the other Scottish MSPs. They're brain dead. They've no guts. They've no vision for the country. And they're not bringing people together. I mean, Nicola Costurno's own constituency, the remaining people have been treated horribly there. Horribly. Why they don't vote? I mean, the easiest way to get her is to persuade her constituency to vote her out in the next election. That's the easy way to get rid of her. But oh, no, they won't. They think they've got an in with her. They haven't got an in. She's got her own views. I mean, she's already said, we want to be independent, but we want to lose a lot of our independence by joining the EU. I mean, you can be an independent country and be in the EU. That's just an impossibility. But she doesn't plan to have a referendum. She said, I will take us into the EU, and no, we will have no referendum, no discussion. We're going in. End of story. Well, if they get independence, I think the Scottish people have a right to decide whether they should give up some of that independence to join the EU. If the Scottish people want to give up part of their independence to join the EU, then fine. But I think there needs to be a referendum. The fact she said there won't be is just diabolical in my view. And after all, a third of people in Scotland said they didn't want independence. That's quite a big number, Or they didn't want to be in the EU, rather. So, and I say, if you're looking at the BBC for genuine independent news, forget them. BBC is useless. Look at people like CapX. Their reporting is generally very good, very honest. Brexit Central is another place to go, although frankly I think they've gone a bit beyond their remit, but you can read a lot of anti-Brexit stuff on their site as well as pro-Brexit stuff. But I think you have to find the blogs that are talking about realistic things. So, but forget the BBC. If you want decent independent news on the BBC, you're not going to get it. End of story. So, my opinion is that Nigel Farage is doing a great job. I think he'll be an overall big winner in the European elections, but that won't change anything. So I think we need a general election that can change things, because we can then deselect these remaining cowardly MPs in Westminster that basically have lied to us. They said they'd take us out. We even voted in Parliament overwhelmingly for the withdrawal agreement, and now they're coming back. Oh no, we didn't really mean to vote for that. That's why I think these MPs need sacking. They need to be deselected. And when they realise they're losing their jobs, they're going to say, oh, maybe we should change our minds. Oh, because I don't want to lose my good job, all my expenses, all the power and everything I get with my position. They're useless, absolutely useless. And Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg, they are no better. I mean, they're willing to accept May's horrible withdrawal deal. And that's a withdrawal deal that makes it far worse, because we have no say, we'd have to be rule takers. It's just terrible. I mean, horrible. Have you read it? And if you go to electorscotland.org, which is my community site, if you go in there and scroll down the forums till you get to politics, under the politics forum, you'll see that one of the first topics is Brexit. That's the current headline I've got there. I might actually create a Brexit sub-forum, but I haven't at the moment. But in there's a two-part video that was aired on BBC 4, made by a Belgian company, who are monitoring negotiations. And if you watch that, you've got to be appalled at how badly David Davis did in these negotiations. He was hardly ever there. And Theresa May, I mean, listen to their comments. Listen to what they want. They've got Irish people in there who just want Britain dead. As I said, I think one of the votes they saw coming through was, yes, now Britain's going to be a colony. That's what we wanted all along. They'll just have to accept what we tell them. Ha ha ha, great, isn't it? I mean, how humiliating is it? There's no pride in country? Obviously not. So we've got to get rid of those MPs. We need to get rid of them. So as I say, that's where I forecast certainly that Brexit Party will be big winners in the European election. I think in a general election there'll also be huge winners. I think we've got a chance to take the country back. After that, I think we'll leave on a no deal. And remember, a no deal doesn't mean that it's a continual no deal. No deal means we'll work under WTO terms, or trade organisation terms. But we can still, after that, negotiate better deals on various things. So it doesn't mean we'll stop negotiating with them, but at least we'll have left and taken back control. And as I say, immigration, I don't think is a big issue anymore, because thanks to voting for Brexit, it's actually meant that we've got virtually full employment now. I think we're down at 3.4% unemployment or something like that. It's way, way down. I mean, Canada's on 7.5 or something like that. But I mean, we're doing great. So now we'll probably need more immigrants, but we can afford them. When you've got full employment, you know, and there's good job vacancies, we need immigrants. But we can make sure we get the right immigrants. And I know Scotland's got a special challenge in immigration, because we need a lot of low-paid workers to come in and do our berry picking, strawberries, raspberries, and all that kind of stuff on the farms. So, and I'm quite sure we can accommodate that for Scotland. I mean, that's the trouble. It's always black and white, but there's not. There's a lot of grey areas, which I'm sure we can fudge and do things. So anyways, I say that's my forecast, is that Brexit Party will be huge winners on the European elections in the next couple of weeks. I think if we go on for a general election, I think Brexit Party will also be huge winners and could be the largest party and could be asked to form a government. I think it's that close. Then as far as the independence, INDYREF2, I don't think we'll see it in the next 2 years. I think the next general election will be the next test of how the SNP get on. But I can tell you this much, if you think it's going to be a simple, yes, we want to be independent and now let's get on with it, you can already see from Brexit the challenges there would be to pick out, because we've got 400 years together, so trying to unpick all that. I mean, Alex Salmond said, it's going to be easy, we'll do it in 18 months, no problem, cost us maybe 150 million. I mean, that's just pie in the sky stuff, just like it was with his oil predictions, pie in the sky. So I think people are getting a bit more sensible about things. And I don't think if we had an independent referendum in Scotland today, for example, I think there would still be a no vote. That's my belief anyway. So, I hope I've answered your question, Mitchell. Certainly I would say that keep reading the newsletter, and especially look at my Scott News feed, because I still make a point of looking at the papers twice a day around the world, and anything I report in there is something that either affects Scotland directly or has implications for Scotland in the future. And said in my last newsletter I put out, I mean, do read that, because I did a couple of big pieces on Brexit and the prospects for the country. I think it was some really great reading, so I would highly encourage you to read that last newsletter I put out. So there you go, that's my overall view, so I hope I've answered your questions. And please feel free, anyone, to leave me comments on this, or email me and ask me for any other information you're after, and I'll do my best to help. Thanks for listening. Look forward to hearing from you.